It's episode 31, and today we're going to look at some student examples of what we talked about in our last episode, the 1860 election ad project. Hello and welcome back to the vlog. Today I'm going to share some student examples with you from the project that I described in our last episode, number 30, the 1860 election campaign ad. So I described a little bit in the last episode how we do it in class and kind of the timeline, things like that. Today I want to share with you a couple of examples that students turned in last night. And this is where it always gets super scary for teachers to kind of share different things from their classrooms. And I really honestly believe this is probably one of the biggest hurdles that teachers have themselves in either sharing a lesson that they created or their student work. And that is that it never quite seems exactly perfect. And so as I was getting ready to share some examples, I found some of the examples that I thought did a pretty good job of kind of clarifying what the position was of each of the four candidates. There were a couple other videos that I thought were really good, but maybe they had just like a little part wrong when they were talking about how their candidate viewed popular sovereignty, or they made one little kind of comment that wasn't exactly right. Now, this is a very short project. We've only spent a couple days going from completely building the script to filming to a finished product. If this was something that I was going to turn into, say, I don't know, National History Day or things like that, I would really work with the students to purify and think about the design, think about every single word they said. And we do have those conversations in class, but I'm going to share with you some examples of things that students literally created in basically 2 classroom periods and then shared and turned in. So if we spent a month or longer or really tweaked these things, they would look differently. But I did want to share some examples of one of each of the campaign ads. So we have one for Lincoln, one for Breckinridge, one for Bell, and one for Douglas. And again, if you have not seen the episode previous to this, we talked a little bit about how we designed that entire activity. We talked about how we really stressed the idea behind picking kind of one theme and one topic for their election ad, and then really kind of focusing on that for the 30 seconds that they have to convince the voter to vote for their candidate. The first ad I want to show you is one of Lincoln. So this is by Ryan, Megan, and Dylan, and they really kind of emphasize the wholesome view of Lincoln, and then also have a couple of comments about some of the other candidates. So here is our Lincoln ad.
This political message is brought to you by the Republican Party of America. Stephen Douglas believes in popular sovereignty and the choice of whether slavery should exist. Not approved. John Bell wants to leave everything the same, but the United States is divided and it's falling apart. Why would we want to leave everything the same when people are suffering? Not approved. You know I'm not lying. I'm Honest Abe. Vote for Abraham Lincoln and you will be voting for the freedom of America. I'm Abraham Lincoln and I approve this message.
Our second example is a Stephen Douglas ad. So this is by Kate, JJ, and Joseph, and they really try to emphasize his viewpoints of wanting manifest destiny and popular sovereignty as we expand west, and then also has a couple comments about some of the other candidates. So this is our Stephen Douglas example.
America needs a leader, one who you can trust in times when we need him, one who will fight for the prosperity of America. We are a country divided. With Stephen Douglas on your side, we will expand from sea to sea. You can decide what you want, when you want it, and we will all expand as one country, not divided by war, but together. Lincoln wants to take away your rights, take away your property, and crush small family farms. John Bell wishes to not expand across the land and not allow the expansion of slavery. Vote for Stephen Douglas.
This is Stephen Douglas, and I approve this message.
Our third example is from John Breckinridge. Now, the students are assigned the particular person that they write the campaign ad for, so I always get a little bit of a groan whenever a group is assigned John Breckinridge, because they first assume, how am I supposed to make this guy that is basically pro-slavery look appealing, and how can I really make this person look good? And so they did a really good job. This was Anna, Brett, and Reagan. And what they did was they really focused on his experience in politics, especially being a vice president. And then they also talk a little bit about the economy. Now, of course, they don't mention that the economy in the South is basically driven by slave labor, but they do talk about the economy, and I thought they did a nice job of trying to make a candidate that is not always the most desirable candidate to get into being a positive aspect for this campaign ad. So this is our John Breckinridge example.
John Breckinridge, a lawyer, vice president, father, and an American. He's a candidate with tons of experience, more than any other candidate. Lincoln believes slavery should not expand, which won't help our economy. Stephen Douglas believes in popular sovereignty, which will only cause controversy. John Bell will never solve the main issue because he doesn't care about it. Vote for John Breckinridge, a candidate that does care about our economy and our country.
I am John Breckinridge and I approve of this message.
Our fourth candidate is John Bell. Now, John Bell is also difficult for students because he really never committed to a lot of things. In fact, that was one of the major criticisms of his party, was they never really had much of a platform because they were kind of just mediocre in the middle of everything. In fact, one of Bell's strategies was hopefully no one would get enough electoral college votes and he might be able to squeak through in a vote in the House after the election. So it's always kind of hard to do Bell because he just kind of wants to keep things the way they are, but he never really has a firm stance on any kind of issue. And so this was done by Zoe, Samantha, and Alex. Thought they did a nice job of kind of making it very moderate, very even, and tried to portray that if you want to just kind of keep things going the way they are, that you should vote for John Bell. So this is Bell's campaign ad from 1860.
James Buchanan did a great job of holding our country together. But things are changing. Who do you want to be your new president? Do you want someone who's indecisive? Someone who's worried only about the expansion of slavery? Or do you want someone who's more concerned about keeping our country united? With the recent debates on the issue of expanding slavery, we need to keep our country together. War is unnecessary. Unity is required. I am John Bell and I approve this message.
So there are our four examples of the different candidates and the actual student work. I always think when I watch a presentation or I listen to somebody talk about how a activity works in their classroom, I always want to see a couple of examples of what the students actually create. I think that sometimes we talk about a great lesson and we do all this kind of planning and stuff, and without really seeing what the students create at the end, it's hard to kind of judge where you're guiding them. So hopefully you got something out of that. I'm really proud of my students for the work they did on this project, and it's something that I've done for several years and I will probably continue to do in the future. And I, as a teacher, always learn a little bit more on how to tweak and maybe kind of provide them information at the beginning so their end product tends to get better every year as well. If you haven't watched episode 30, I encourage you to go back one episode and watch the description of how we create the lesson, how we do the lesson. I put a lot of detail into kind of how we set it up in our classroom, and that will help make this episode make a little bit more sense. As always, if you have any questions or you want to check out our resources for this episode, you can find us online at historygeekteacher.com. I also have my contact information there if you'd like to get a hold of me, if you have any questions, or if you have something that you would like to see in a future vlog episode, let me know and I will try and make that happen. So that's it for today. Remember, history is so much more than just a bunch of boring old dead guys. Until next time, bye.